Thanks to our sponsors Renault. The Renault Capture, the versatile compact family SUV.
You're still the one I run to, the one that I belong to. You're still the one I want for life.
A grain of rice, a grain of rice is going to tip the scale. Just remember that, lad.
There's a small bit of a needle there.
Now, come on, Mayo, you've got to get Andy Moran into the game.
Our mission was to show that we're no longer the whipping boys of Munster.
You there, Teach?
There's no sponsor on that jersey, TJ, is there?
He's not biting.
Good morning, Vietnam.
Yes. Give him a chance.
How you doing, lads?
We got number 21, TJ. Who's jersey is that?
What's he holding up there, Marco?
He's holding up a jersey, an unsponsored jersey. It must be from way back in his era. That was the red helmet time.
Oh,
All
the
Ireland.
occasion of 3 in a row, no?
No, not yet. Morning, Dalo.
Morning, lads.
I made it back to Limerick. Yep.
Back in the cube, Teach.
I'm back in the queue now. Great couple of days. Brilliant occasion. Probably one of the best atmospheres, sporting occasions I've ever been at. We had a brilliant game, and from our point of view, the result to match.
Yeah, the All Blacks, my arse, as far as I'd be concerned now today. Like, it's just
Don't be going down that route now, Dalo, right? Okay. I got out of bed at 7:30 on Saturday morning to see history being made by our fellow countrymen. And you'd probably be drinking in the boar's head now in a couple of months with a couple of them rugby fellas, and you'd be all about them, like, you know? You're a gas man. A fantastic occasion for sport over the weekend. Ireland making history, bringing down the All Blacks, getting the cup. Fellas like Peter O'Mahony and Conor Murray doing a jig outside in New Zealand. Fantastic. And then to cap it all, the atmosphere in Croker, from a neutral point of view, was electric. Even better, I got an invitation to the corporate box. My first time ever in the corporate box up there. Thanks to Jim and Pauline Doyle of Integro. Thank you. I had a fantastic day. Went out to visit my brother-in-law who had a double bypass a couple of weeks ago in Dunleary. Got to dart in. It was great excitement around the place. Like, you know, the Limerick supporters coming in the dart. And I'd have to say now, just an all-out wonderful occasion. And you know, thankfully we got a match to savour as well. It was great to be there.
We sure did. And Hoagie, you were looking very dapper down the pitch with your man beforehand. But you were great, Hoagie, but they were just too good.
Yeah. I was really hoping coming on this morning, Dalo, that there wasn't going to be the but there is, unfortunately. We were great. The boys, you know, they gave everything. You know, they gave what we knew they would come with. They did their county proud, did the jersey proud, did themselves proud. You know, but I suppose ultimately we never got ahead at any stage during the match. You know, just, you know, we put them to the pin of the collar. I felt, you know, in the closing stages, you could see a bit of nervousness coming into the Limerick camp. You know, we had a bit of momentum behind us, but then you can go along to the likes of Gerard Hegarty and he can just make something happen and get that scoreboard ticking again, and that's a huge asset to have. But yeah, look, there's pride that can be taken, absolutely, from our perspective, but it doesn't alleviate the disappointment. You know, when you get there, it's so hard to get there, and there's so much commitment from the boys and everything else to come up short. You know, so, you know, such a small margin. It is disappointing, and look, the boys will be hurting, and it'll be a tough one for the next few weeks, and you know, they'll get back to the clubs and whatever. But it's still something they'll look at the whole. You know, the winter. I always think the winter is just that bit darker, that bit longer when you know you come up a bit short there like that. You know, because all you're thinking about is wanting to get back on the horse, so to speak.
Jesus, you should try out the rest of our winters for most of our lives. Like I said a few words Saturday night. to the lads out at the meal with a fantastic weekend now. thanks to the Castleknock Hotel here with a few IT glitches now. We might be a bit late getting the show out, but I said, lads, this is the last speech I'm ever going to make. Because, like, Hoagie, we have long winters every year, like, but no, it just was a tremendous weekend, lads, wasn't it? And the fastest ever 3 in a row one pointed out to me by Mick Boland there this morning in a text message. From December 2020 to July 22, 3 in a row, Marco.
Jesus, that is some going now, to be fair. And Limerick joining the Kilkennys and the Tipperaries and the Corks to do 3 in a row. You know, could we have been even speaking about 5 in a row yesterday if that blip that they had there in the middle where Kilkenny took them? But, you know, lads, isn't it just magnificent to be here? Declan Hannon, obviously, of course, collecting the cup for the 4th time, surpassing Christy Ring's record of 3 winning All-Ireland captaincies. So I must give great credit to both teams involved yesterday. Like Kilkenny to score 226, their highest ever score in an All-Ireland final. They played 17 of them under Brian Cody, other than the 2008 mauling of Waterford. So, you know, Kilkenny must have been, you know, when they walk away from it yesterday, they score 226 and still come out the wrong side of the result. But they died with their boots, and as Brian said earlier on, you know, 6 points up on a number of occasions. Looked like Limerick were going to go away from them. And then in the 60, I think it was the 64th or the 68th minute, they drew level. Like, it was set for a grandstand finish. And then Limerick sent a little bit of danger, put the foot on the gas, went 5 clear. And then Kilkenny refused to wilt and got 3 more points to bring it back to 2. So for the fellas that were playing the odds in the -3 over the weekend, they must have thought they were on the way to Paddy Powers to collect the dough. But, you know, a couple of late scores by Kilkenny, they just won't go away. But, you know, hats off to Limerick. Magnificent. And I'd say hats off to the Limerick County Board and the people that the foresight, possibly 10 or 11, 12 years ago, Daly, you would have been involved in the academy. Jory Wallace would have been involved for a period of time there as well. They got a bunch of players together, and more importantly, they kept them together, and they have built on it, and they have, I suppose, solidified their hurling status, you know, amongst, you know, the other greats of the game, the Kilkennys, the Corks, the Tipperaries, you know, in getting the 3 in a row. And Dalo, the ultimate insult to your own county yesterday then is that the number of All-Irelands you have wasn't on the programme. I'd be having a word with me man above in Crow Park about that now. Very disappointed. Yeah. I was looking out for you, kid. And I just really disappointed. Another error on behalf of Crow Park shouldn't have happened. The same as when they didn't invite Antrim or Kerry to the launch of the Liam McCarthy Championship when they were still in it. So all those things do matter, Anthony. And it is right and proper to give the respect and to mark those things properly. Just a bit disappointed about that piece over the weekend.
Yeah, well, I suppose, Mark, it's just a mistake. Like, somebody, I'd say, has red face on him yesterday when it went to print. But I always say that medals are only the receipts for glorious memories. And they won't take the memories off us. And we know we were there. I don't even know where the medals are, to be honest with you. I don't. It doesn't bother me. I know what we won and what we didn't win. And there's a lot of old chatter on social media, which you're not on, Mark. Like, so you're lucky with that.
Thanks be to God, I'm not. But you know what? But Anthony, we're running a fantastic organisation, and I know we'll be having this debate again about the split season. But you know, it was. I say the viewing numbers must have been massive yesterday. We got a glorious day, fierce warm, guaranteed your sunshine in July more often than not, and it was fantastic. I know it's over early, but like, we had a massive crescendo yesterday to the Hurling Championship, and hats off to everybody involved. They're small little errors, but they just shouldn't happen, like, you know. But you're right, you have the medals, boy, and that's the important thing.
Well, we have the memories. That'll be my main thing. And as I just said it this morning, like, look, man, like Saturday night, I told a few yarns about the holidays and whatever else. And Jesus, look, man, I didn't even tell him until about 3 minutes beforehand that he was saying a few words. Jesus, talk about holding a room in the palm of his hand, like, And I said it to the new chairman, Kieran Keaton. Now he's there about a year now. I said, now you know why we won a second one, Kieran. And he said, Jesus, you'd stand in the snow to listen to him, like, you know. But I know it was great. It was great to catch up with all the boys, and everyone was very friendly. Mark, you'll be glad to know, towards each other, and you know.
So how did the Davy and the Lohan love-in go, or was it just yourself? Are we the man in the middle now? We just want a small bit of insight now for the listeners, because there's a lot of love needs to, you know, and like the boys in Kilkenny will get their chance again now fairly soon, because there'll be a regular visit to Crow Park with Henry and Brian over the coming years. So just want to know, how did the Davy and the Lohan side of things go over the weekend?
Well, you see, we'd all the girls with us as well, like, and then there's the two panels, 95 and 97. So there was about 90 people in the room Saturday night. But as far as I could see, everyone got on great. That's all I know. And except for Davy, we're out 1 and 2. Michael O'Halloran was behind us, and we had a great old chat in the tunnel while the Wexford lads were being lauded. Sorry, TJ, for reminding me about that. But no, all's good. All's good. I think, you know, anything like that is great, and there's just get together.
Fantastic.
I think there's talk of a couple of nights away, maybe before the year is out too, so we might try and rally for that. But lads, the heat was incredible, wasn't it? I mean, we used to go down. Obviously, we don't need to walk out, wave, and walk down, take a picture, and then go away again. The heat in the studio now on RTE was fairly intense. Geez, the heat, lads, and to hear Kyle Hayes saying afterwards, I didn't find it too bad, to be honest. What athletes these fellas are now, like both sides. Jesus, it's incredible, like, isn't it? To play, TJ, at that intensity, and for a fella to say at the end of it, I didn't find it too bad.
Yeah, I was talking to the players last night. Dalo, and you'll be delighted to know there's a few of them willing to come before us and have a pod with us and tell us some stories and give us some insights. Johnny Finn and Declan Hanlon and Davy Reedy, even Davy Reedy's brother, another fella from Matlack, kind of saying they felt they could add to the podcast. So just so you know, you can put it in your notes, so you'll be listening in at some stage. But look, a fantastic weekend from Limerick's point of view. The weather definitely helps most things that happen in this country. People were in good form before the game. There was a good mingling of fans, you know, people from all over the world. Limerick people coming home for the game. And in fairness, there was just something special about it. In the GAA, there's a lovely ring to a 3 in a row. I need a really, I suppose, teams that dominated. They like to get the 3 in a row. It was a big thing. Beating Kilkenny, I suppose, you didn't want to make much of it beforehand because it was an All-Ireland final on its own, but just the way the game went down to the last ball, beating, as you'd probably maybe all agree, the standard bearers of that work ethic and honesty over the years, and what Brian and his teams have brought to the table, and just for Limerick to be able to outfight them, get control. Kilkenny came back, go back in control again, and even in the finish to go 5 points up, and then Kilkenny to hit us with 3 and bring the game back to 2. So it was nail biting stuff. But look, 3 in a row in all sorts of conditions, different months. We've had crowds of nobody, half a stadium, full stadium yesterday, different months, different weather conditions. Just a phenomenal team, and it's just an alignment of the stars, as I said before. Great manager, great coaches, but truly great players. Some of the best players the game has seen for a long time. Brilliant in their positions, and gave a great battle. I just said to Hoagie there, I expected the first half to be more ferocious. I don't know whether it was the weather, Dalo, or what it was. It felt more open and more spatial game than I thought. Kilkenny changed things from 2019, I thought. They left that middle third in front of our half-hour line there in the first half. It was 30-40 yards of space, and they went man for man, which is brave, and like obviously won plenty of those battles. But it was a little bit different.
Just TJ, did they go man for man though? Like Paddy Deegan got 2 points, great scores, but his man was doing rack. I was watching from the RT box, kind of behind the goal, Canal inside, and like there was confusion. The Limerick half-hour line obviously constantly move. Tom Morrissey goes to the middle, you know, Kyle goes to the wing, Hegarty goes middle wing, and there was confusion.
Yeah.
At times, Richie Reid found himself nearly at left corner back. Like.
Correct. They did go for man. Actually, in all 6 half-backs, would you believe, got on the scoreboard from play. The 3 for Kilkenny and the 3 for Limerick. Like, what I meant is, the 2 midfielders from Limerick pulled to one side and they kind of pulled into their own half-back line at times. The Kilkenny boys followed them. I just said to Brian there, at times, Garrod, Tom Morrissey and Kyle were making the runs. Yeah, the markers might have flipped from time to time, right? And it was because they were overloading one side. But in general, it was a man-for-man. Kilkenny didn't give up the puck out in the main. It was allowing Nicky those spaces. And that's the challenge, I suppose, playing this Limerick team, whereas Galway did something different. They had a man out, they closed the space there, and then they went man for man, and they had an extra body there, whereas Kilkenny tried to do it a little bit different. So it was interesting in the first half, and I felt on numerous occasions for an All-Ireland final, there was a guy in probably 20, 30 yards of space on the ball, and nobody on him, both sides.
Yeah. Hoagie, how would you felt about, I don't know, I just thought Clare would say with David McInerney, totally engaged Hago. No, Hago probably still, in Ennis especially, came up with a big, huge performance for a finish. But David McInerney, I thought, came off with awful credit. I thought Galway, Joseph Cooney, probably, whoever was picking in Pádraig Mannion at times, but when they would say the play was away, they were absolutely man-marking him. Like, it was just too easy for him yesterday. I thought, like, he's a brilliant player now, don't get me wrong. I would like to be on him myself. But I just thought it was too easy. Like.
Yeah, I would agree with TJ's assessment of it. The lads were the half-back line were in front of me in the first half, and you could see Limerick, they're lining up in front of each, in a line in the middle. They come in around Richie Reid. You'd have maybe Kyle Hayes behind, Hegarty in the middle and Tom Morrissey just in front. And you see it, the way they split and go into, but they were leaving the huge pockets of space in either side for them to run into. And if you got Garrod Hegarty with the stride he has and Kyle Hayes, those two guys with momentum running onto a ball, and then you're having to react to where they go, like, that's an awful tough ask. Because, if you're marking a quick guy and he's run in and you're physically stronger than him, you can kind of give him a bit of a tug, you can kind of knock him off his stride, or you can, whatever. Like, you're at nothing giving Kyle Hayes or Hegarty a dunt. So the boys were reacting to whatever, so Limerick were dictating the terms of engagement, if you like, so on one or two occasions they did try and cross over, and they saw Paddy, stopping his run and going back and taking Kyle Hayes, who was coming the other way, and Richie, and that was great and that worked. But other than that, the boys were over and back, chasing, and there's nothing worse than chasing a half forward for 35 minutes in that heat and struggling to lay a glove on him, and it was I'd agree with TJ, there was huge pockets of space, and at one stage you had Darragh Donovan and Will Donoghue sitting on the sideline right in front of me as the two midfielders beside each other. Sure, they're only doing that because they wanted to hold the space the other side for the boys to run into. And look, it's easy for us to say in hindsight and looking at it, and it's very difficult. I've been there in the heat of battle. I said to the boys, I got caught in 0-4 against Wexford, and obviously a much more simplified version of what Limerick do. But we chased our lads over and back across the field while Fitzhenry put balls into space. And by half time, we were burnt out. And it took to half time for us to go, what the fuck are we doing? Like, here, because we're just reacting to what they wanted to do. So I just felt, like, we kind of went man for man. We kind of didn't want, to allow them to build a platform. But in hindsight, we had so much space for Nicky Quaid to put ball into. It was a big issue for us, in the first half. And yeah, it was a difficult one. And look, saying that, as you said, like, Paddy got 2 points, Richie Reid got a point, Michael Carey got a great score. So they were getting onto a lot of ball as well. But it was the damage that the three boys were doing. And again, the game is a lot more nuanced now than simply saying, well, this lad got these scores, so it was down to lad marking them. To a point it is, but it's a team performance as well, and it's all the movement, and it's you'd have to go, we probably will go into a bit more detail. It was the puck out strategy and how the team is number 15 players set out the stall, and our midfielders, not giving that kind of cover. I felt our two midfielders were bypassed completely, and it didn't leave much cover at all for the half back line,
And Dalo, you'd have to say, like 3 of the points that Gerard Haggerty scored yesterday, 1 from the sideline and 2 from maybe 90 or 100 yards out. So, lads, you can forget your puck outs then.
Yeah.
Like, that's not down to puck. Like, you can analyse the puck outs all day long. That's all part and it's a feature of the game. But some of the score taking yesterday was breathtaking. The hurling, the 3 goals that were taken yesterday, the first touch, Gerard Haggerty picked the first ball on the run with the heel of his hurley. Billy Ryan, first touch, turned on a sixpence, back of the net. Massey Keoghan, first turn, had to do a 360 and hit the ball into the net. The skill levels that were on view yesterday were ferocious. And you ally that with the heat, and you ally that with the physicality of both teams. I know TJ would have said maybe the first half wasn't that physical. But like you look at the hit that Gerard Haggerty hit Adrian Mullen as one thing, and a fair shoulder, and fair play to Colm Lyons, who I thought who had a magnificent game all through, left the game flow. No major complaints, I'd say, from either teams. You look at maybe some of the individual stuff, but like overall, I thought the skill level of both sets of teams was just majestic yesterday.
Yeah, just to pick up on that first goal by Haggerty, like again, that was just down where I was sitting. Absolutely outrageous skill. I mean, there's times where you just have to kind of put your hand up and go, Jesus, what a score. Like, it was Flanagan. You could see, he intentionally
touched by Flanagan's leg.
Put a foot to the ball. And just like Haggerty coming at pace, like the touch with the heel of the hurl into the hand. And it's been documented. The only place he could put it against Murph was up in the hoop in the far corner.
Top left-hand corner.
Unbelievable goal.
Did he catch Murph a bit by surprise, Hoagie? Like, he caught me by surprise anyway, and I was sitting behind it.
He caught me by surprise. He caught me by surprise how he got it up into his hand so quickly. Yeah. Such a fluid motion. I mean, once he had it in his hand and the stride was there, you knew there was a goal on. The strike was fantastic to finish the goal, but it was the way because there was I don't know how many bodies there, 4 or 5 bodies. There were certainly 3 Kilkenny defenders. There was Flanagan. There was himself. Like, if he had to check his run anyway or slow his pace, it would have given Kilkenny the opportunity to put a hand on him, hold him up. He never broke stride. It was just a phenomenal pickup. And yeah, look, absolutely. Like, I know we're critiquing the match, but like the performances across both teams was fantastic, and it was a great game. But I had to mention that goal. Like, it really was just. That
was class goal. But to go back to kind of to go back and touch on the point, like at halftime it was 117 to 16 points, right? It definitely was end-to-end stuff. And if you measure against 2019, when literally on, let's say, puckouts, I think it was Walter Walsh and John Donnelly were the 2 wing forwards. Like, they stepped in and tried to fill those voids. They came right back to field, literally in front of their halfbacks, and helped them to kind of fill the space, which made it more difficult for Limerick. But I just thought, like, I think Kilkenny would look today to say that 113 was scored from play by the half forwards, 1-5 from Garrod, 4 from Kyle, 4 from Tom. It's very difficult to win games when you cough up that amount of scores from play to 10, 11 and 12. And I just felt that from a system point of view, they might look at it to say, geez, we might have made that bit easy. Great. There was great scores. And like, Kilkenny found themselves back level in the second half. Don't get me wrong. They did a huge amount of stuff right. But that bit was surprising me. And the middle third, beforehand, I thought that was going to be ferocious early on. In the first half especially, I didn't think we got that.
I would TJ, I would agree on that, because again, the last time when we did beat Limerick, I remember John Donnelly in front of me, and the shift that he put in, as I said, he blew up after 45 minutes because he literally ran himself into the ground. But it was claustrophobic, is the way I describe it. No, neither Limerick nor Kilkenny could move in that middle third of the field from the hits that were going in. Whereas yesterday, there was a lot more space. It was absolutely physical, hugely physical, but there was space to operate in, particularly for the Limerick half forward line. And it was just a slightly different approach that we took. And, I suppose that the midfield were a bit bypassed for us. Keane didn't get an opportunity to influence the game as he had done previously. That's not be critical of his first All-Ireland final, and he's been a great find for us this year. And Connor, I suppose, had his handful there in midfield as well. It just, it was just.
Is Kinnock the greatest brain to come up with something new constantly, like to evolve constantly. You know, we referenced the 19 game there, obviously, in the hits and the space, and then Hoagie says there about the two midfielders being over on the sideline. But both midfielders, like, when do we ever see that before? Like, both of them over on the sideline. He's just a step ahead of everyone, that he can come up with some little niche to change it from game to game.
Well, I suppose the results speak for themselves in terms of the All-Ireland. Say he's won and under 21, so yeah, he very well could be. I suppose sometimes maybe in this Limerick team, like we might talk about setups and systems and the way they play, but you'd have to give the players a huge amount of credit. As Buggy said there, like the brilliance of Gerard Hegarty just to be able to get that goal early on. Like sometimes that gets lost. So incredibly talented group of people now, incredibly. And I suppose just the whole way they dealt with Keane's loss, moved on, it was next man in, and then the eagerness of the boys who came on just to play and help and do what they had to do for the team. Like, so they just seem to have the stars aligned beautifully, and runs a good ship. And look, obviously you have to do that, you know, to win 3 in a row in the modern day. Like it is very difficult, and just an incredible team. And we're lucky they're green. Like if you ask me, back in the day, 10, 15, 20 years ago, like say 7, 8 years ago, was an All-Ireland possible? You were always hopeful, and you'd always expect that at some stage you get in the door. But the sort of dominance that this team has brought over the last 5 years, yeah, that's right up there with the very best teams.
Yeah. And you know the other thing, Mark, all year we've kind of said the team, unusually now, because they go back to 1920 and that teams were racing ahead and they were getting reeled in. Whoever has started taking the initiative in championship matches this year has nearly been able to hold on, haven't they?
That's right. Yeah, and like definitely in the first half, like the first 6 minutes, Limerick were a goal and 2 points up to no score. Padraig Welch probably got an opportunity that he'd be disappointed that he didn't nail for Kilkenny. And I thought he kind of needed to nail it, particularly the way Kilkenny actually started. But I suppose TJ Reid, I won't say single-handedly, but I'd say Padraig and TJ were very good in the first half for Kilkenny. You probably would have expected a bit more from their other forwards. They probably didn't get it. Now, we know the Limerick backs, that 6 as a unit, they have taken on the best forwards in the country for the last 4 or 5 years, and they have given them very, very little leeway. So, in fairness to the second half, those forwards, the Billy Ryans and the Massey Keogans, came up with the big scores. Again, TJ came up with the big score, or the big plays, I suppose, being involved in the goal opportunities. But like Kilkenny, Limerick 3 times went 5 or 6 points up during the course of the game, and Kilkenny reeled them back in. So that's down to, I suppose, the great. I'm coming away from the game yesterday giving huge credit to both teams involved yesterday. But at no stage did Kilkenny bend the knee. They struggled at times. They stayed in it. And you must give credit. Like, Flanagan wasn't that dominant. Gillan, okay, he got 3 points from play. Possibly missed a couple of opportunities, but was under pressure from Hugh Lawler. But you'd have to say that probably the full back line for Kilkenny would have been happy enough coming away, knowing they maybe only conceded 5 points. Going into the game, would we have conceded 113 to the half forward? I'd probably not. But on any given Sunday, and I think I said this in the previews that we did, Anthony, I said that there was upside in Tom Morrissey and Gerard Hegarty. That was the major point I was making, because they have had ferocious finals for Limerick over the last number of years, and both of them played out of their skins yesterday as well. Tom, started slow, got 1 point in the first half, got 3 in the second half, but he made a major contribution over the game. But like, to go back to your original point about teams getting out in front and dictating it, I think Limerick did dictate the game yesterday. And I suppose Kilkenny for long stages were hanging in there, but it just wouldn't go away. And then pulling Walter off the bench, like, that was a major. We knew he was going to have a big influence. We questioned whether he was going to start or not. But I thought Walter obviously made a big impression when he came in. The same as Richie Hogan when he hit that point. I think it was a point to draw Kilkenny level. I thought at that stage maybe momentum was starting to swing towards Kilkenny with the guys coming off the bench. Also the fact that Blanchfield came on and got a point. Alan Murphy came on and got a point. So the bench had an impact for Kilkenny yesterday. But then you have to say that Yet Limerick weathered the storm. They're great champions. They didn't panic. And I suppose for me, and it didn't change or win or lose the game, but certainly TJ Reid got an opportunity, I think, to take a point, went for the juggle, crossed the ball across for the goal opportunity. The Limerick defence overturned it. The referee gave advantage. They played it out from the back line, through the lines, and Cathal O'Neill, who came in at wing, went straight to centre forward, and I think maybe Kyle Hayes might have went back as a seventh defender at that stage, but came in as centre forward. He nailed one, and TJ, your friend from Hawkeye, delivered yet again for Limerick, right? Ball, I think, was wave wide, and Hawkeye said it was a score. So you heard it here before. Landers has told you, Hawkeye is your friend, and he's also the referee's friend. Don't rule out Hawkeye to get you over the line.
Do you need Hawkeye, Keith?
I didn't think so. I'm like, sure, if it's a point, it's a point. But anyway, the Hawkeye, I think it was another one.
Well, come here. Garrod Hagedy's point in the first half. Garrod Hagedy's point in the first half was also wave wide by the umpire, and Hawkeye came to your rescue again. So you had two scores yesterday.
Yeah, but I think David Reid did in, I think, it was the opposite, wasn't it? He was waved over there and it was taken back. But look, we want those. But I will agree, the execution and skill, there was only 10 wides on both sides each in the game. The movement of the ball, their ability to find the player in the gap of space, in the tight kind of circumstances at times was really, really impressive. And Kilkenny just wouldn't lay down. They just wouldn't go away. Like, and they kept coming and coming and coming. And they got the second goal, and then they got level. Kind of thinking, geez, this could be their day. And it was in front of me there now, and there was plenty of action on the line, Brian. I see one or two that might have been as pleasant maybe as you might think. I'm not sure exactly what the wording were between himself and Gort there once or twice, but like in general, like they're just standard bearers on that, like that whatever key pieces that don't require ability. Let's say turning up, work rate, energy, honesty. Like, just an incredible side, and in fairness to Cody, he brought that again. Definitely, Wally coming on at half time was a big influence in the game as well. Like, and you know, I was talking to the boys last night. There was plenty aerial bombardment in the second half, like, and dealing with some of those boys that are really, really good in the air. And to be fair to Limerick, they had prepared for that. They knew that would come at some stage, and you know, in the main, they dealt with it exceptionally well. Yeah. Really, really good. Yeah. But it was great. It was great that Peter Casey was able to come back, and you know, I met the Casey's mother after the game, and she said, "Would you believe it? That yesterday was the first day that the two Caseys finished the match together." There's been loads of cases where Mike was out. Let's say Peter started, he didn't finish, whatever. But yesterday was the first time the two of them finished the game. So yeah, plenty positives all around, and just as I said, incredible that it's us. No, as I said, it's just brilliant. Limerick had a great time there over the last number of weeks and months and years. And you know what? You probably have to say that the hurlers are responsible for an awful lot of it.
Yeah, it was great to see two Claremen getting medals as well, as you say, like at the end of the game, the two Caseys. It was great for the county as well. They're very proud of that.
With Dalo, Dalo, no, you obviously know
mind me saying that,
TJ. But you know, I was in the Dale Manor with you, right? Okay, we had the pleasure of going to the Pro-Am, right? And the two Caseys were in front of me, and I didn't know who they were, to be honest with it. You know what I mean? Yeah. They're not the biggest lads in the world, and certainly not the tallest fellas. And I tell you, for my Casey to be playing full back, like I look at Noel Hickey. Noel wasn't the tallest guy in the world either, Brian. So it doesn't mean that you have to have a massive big full back to play in that position. But by God, they're some hurlers. And you
only go back, Mark, team taking on Peter Duggan. Like, I mean, it must have been a foot in it or more. And the way he could deal with it, like, you know. But of course, as the fellas says, 35 inches of ash in your hand, it's how you use it. Like.
Well, and any fella to come back from the cruciates, and Limerick have had, like, you know, Richie English, Peter Casey. I don't know, did Mike have a cruciate as well, TJ?
Yeah.
So, isn't it a great testament to the medical team as well, and the people in the background, and the dedication of the injured players to get their careers back on track? That's great credit due to everybody involved.
When you're talking about big fullback, like I was actually talking to Noel after the match yesterday, but there's definite parallels there in terms of the physique and the ability to manage lads who are maybe a bit taller. But the old story of I think it was Van Larkin was asked when he was marking was Ray Cummins, he was giving away a foot as well, and what are you going to do? He's so strong in the air, and he says, "For sure, he has to come down sometime, doesn't he?" But
sorry, Hoagie, and I want to come back to you on a man now that I think might be the greatest ever. Like, but TJ, what was the atmosphere like last night? Was there a live band or what was it? We were in the Bell in Blanchardstown, and in fairness to all the staff out there, the live band between 7:30 and 9:30, and plenty finger food and all. We great crack. And I think back to the banquets back in the day. Jesus, there'd be some lady above playing the harp, lads. We said, "Jeez, wouldn't it be grand to have an old band or even a DJ, for the crack?" I'd say they were probably wrecked, TJ, were they? I just felt after the match they were so wrecked. Everyone looked wrecked, didn't they?
Yes, right. Because the heat would take an awful lot out of you, but there was a live band, and in fairness, they put on a good show. Limerick GAA, it was very good, and I suppose the fact that there wasn't a banquet for the last couple of years with the COVID situation, and they didn't get to bring the cup home, it definitely felt right up there. And definitely a couple of them have said that it was every bit as good as 2018, if not better. It was kind of a special feeling and huge satisfaction for the lads because they were challenged all year with different scenarios, and whether it was people giving over Road Hegarty at the start of the year or the injuries that they had and different things, and other teams improving and throwing the kitchen sink at them. A bit like yourself, Dalo, about maybe your last speech, John Cregan, you'd be on about generals, Marco, and maybe lucky generals. Well, the chairman of the county board's tenure is 5 years in Limerick, so after 5 years you move on. John Cregan, his 5 years is done. So he came in 5 years ago, and the team has won 4 All-Irelands. So that is some achievement for him. He spoke last night and then said in general, Larry McCarthy, the president of GA, was there. John spoke, Karen Curran spoke. It was everyone was really good form, and it was a huge sense of massive achievement and a reality to kind of say, you know what, we're in the presence of greatness here. And it's just so hard to do that in GA. It's hard to win one, as we all know. But what they did, is that we've only seen, and probably maybe we're the envious looking on at Kilkenny over the years. But again, and there's standard bearers here that'll leave a legacy for a long time to come. Whatever you look at, a half forward with the physique and power of Road Hegarty, someone like Kyle Hayes with his strength running at you, will be measuring people against Aaron Gillan as to whether there's good inside forward. Dermot Burns, his nail and freeze. That's we might take the great long-range free takers in the past, Shiny McMahon being one of them that comes to mind straight away. But I think any future long-range free taker now will probably be measured against Dermot Burns. And I'd say that's probably going to last for, 10, 20, 30, 40 years because it's just phenomenal. They're arrow-like from, literally outside the D, right? Up,
incredible.
Yeah. I was kind of joking in last night that he lets Gillan hit the handy ones and he just takes out everything else.
Yeah, geez, Miss and Keane, the Well has some influence over the thing, haven't they? And just 3 brilliant players coming together at the same age group, and it's incredible. Speaking of brilliance, Hoagie, I just thought Reid, Micheál christened him the magician, and Reid the magician. Jesus, he has everything, hasn't he? No, maybe the legs have slowed down a bit. There was one foot race with Barry Nash, and I'm not too sure anyone on the pitch would have won a foot race with Barry Nash. Barry got there first. But he's just ability in the air, his presence, his free taking. Well, he didn't score that much, but nearly everything good. Yeah, nearly everything good from Kilkenny come off Reid. He's just a phenomenal player, and I know I think he's 35 this week, Hoagie, I think, is he? And
I think so, yeah.
But you need him to keep going, don't you? I think, I would nearly always have had DJ and Henry and found it hard to separate them as the greatest ever. And maybe DJ was for me because maybe I saw his arse at close hand more often going away from me. But Jesus, this TJ Reid, just unbelievable. I mean, he hasn't been on the teams that maybe you were on, when you were all, and he's come up against a great Limerick team and good tip teams and a Clare team in 13 and different. But he's just an incredible man. Jackie was with us in Adair on Thursday night, and he just said he has no nerves. Is that possible? Like, or what's the makeup like?
Yeah, I really don't know what else or what more can be said about the man. Like, as a guy, I would have hurled with and hurled against on several occasions at club level. Just, there's no one has a bad word about him. He's just a consummate hurler. You know, he's well able to mind himself, but there's not an ounce of dirt to him. He's a hurler to the core. From the minute he came in with ourselves with Kilkenny when he was 19, 20, I mean, to be honest,
it took a small while, Hoagie, did it?
No, it did. He was burning it up at club level. I mean, that great Ballyhale team with the two Fenleys and Cha and Henry, like, it was TJ at 19 and 20, 21 who was the best club hurler in the county. He was the one that was causing havoc, you know, inside, racking up big scores. He was remarkable, but it took him a while when he was inside with us to understand that there was more, I suppose, required at that level than, it sounds ridiculous, than simply scoring, you know. It was the stuff that he does now, you take for granted with him now, like the dispossessions of the, you know, Conor Cleary, the you know, he always had the vision, but you didn't have to score the kind of the ridiculous silence and all that. He's a consummate team player now, and it took him a few years just to develop that piece, if you like, inside. Like, he came on against Watford and he scored 5 points in the Ireland final. He came on in, you know, other years, and it was just that final piece of the jigsaw. But as a hurler, I mean, I've seen him do things in training that are absolutely ridiculous. Like, I've seen him in a match, a full contact match where we'd be killing each other, and just the composure. He came in on one day off the newsstand side and he put topspin on a ball as Tommy was chasing him, going to, you know, with the teeth gritted. He put topspin on a ball to bring it up and over David Herity and into the goal. I mean, we kind of just looked and said, what's after happening there? Like, we couldn't understand how, you know, to have the nerve to do it. And like, he's a gallery, like, he would have been telling Henry, like, he should have been the free taker. You know, you should be taking just pure, you know, like the boys' club mates, the joke and banter, pure nerves. He just loves hurling. He just, yeah, he's a great guy, you know. He does. He comes across certainly as a guy who has absolutely no nerves, but ferociously competitive and driven in his own way, as he'd have to be to have done the amount of hurling that he's done, you know, over his tenure. So I mean, a phenomenal player, and I suppose just to caveat that, he came in with a buddy of his, a colleague of his, who probably had a slightly higher profile. Well, did have a higher profile in Richie Hogan. Both of them came in at the same time into Kilkenny, and Richie would have been the, you know, I suppose, with that connection to DJ and everything, and he was, you know, again, the unfinished article, but an absolute class act, and got hurler of the year. And I suppose their careers kind of went, you know, diverged slightly at a point in terms of Richie was riddled with injuries for the last number of years. And I just wanted to make a point of, you know, saying I was absolutely delighted to see Richie coming on, and class is permanent. You know, ball played down being 2 touches over the bar. He managed to find himself in space where a lot of the Kilkenny forwards couldn't get an inch of space. He found himself in space on the sideline, 2 touches over the bar. Simple, you know. And I was just delighted for the 2 boys who would have hurled together in Kieran's under minor 21 and senior, just to see the 2 of them, you know, back on the field of play in Ireland final. And just unfortunately, I suppose, I had done a gig that morning and Richie's parents were at it, and I kind of predicted, wouldn't it be great finish to the arc for Richie to come on and get the winning or the last couple of scores and get us over the line? And that almost happened. But yeah, TJ is like.
But and Hoagie, TJ actually finished top scorer in the championship in 2022, 2 goals and 65 points. He was the top scorer. I know a lot of them are from baseballs, but again, a bit like David Burns, like his accuracy from frees is unbelievable. Well, in play, actually, Aaron Gillan was the top scorer from play in championship with 321. The top 4 were Gillan, Adrian Mullen, Hego, and Owen Cody. So, but TJ Reid overall 2 goals and 65 points in 2022 championship.
There was one instance there, Dalo, just to finish it off there in the second half. I think it was the second half. It was, he caught a puck out, and again, it was more or less in front of me, and out on the sideline, and he turned and pinged the ball straight across the feed to Adrian Mullen. Now the ref was standing in the way. I didn't even see Adrian. The ref had to duck, but to catch a ball over the Limerick defenders, take 2 or 3 steps, and to have the vision to spray the ball straight across the field to a free Adrian Mullen, who was. I couldn't see him, and I was sitting in a seat because the ref had to duck and a point over the bar. I was just like, Jesus, class.
Yeah.
You know, class. And yeah, like the only worry is, like, you know, Adrian had a great game. It didn't roll for Owen Cody, and he will have other days, but like still, TJ is making everything tick for us. You know, 9 points, but the amount of work and the amount of play that he brings other players into the game, you know, he's a massive part of our team. And, you know, again, it's a personal thing, but I really hope he doesn't, you know, that he enjoys the winter, takes it easy. He's just married and comes, you know, we see him again, you know.
Yeah, no, I think you know, we probably all assume Cody stay, and I think TJ has to stay. I think, you know, even if there was a new manager, and I'm saying, Jesus, Cody could stay forever, like, you know, obviously. But even if it was a change at that level, you need Reid, I think, just to bring on the boys another bit before they're ready. At the other side, Mark, and you know, phenomenal. You touched on it earlier. To lift Daly McCarthy 4 times, like, just incredible. What a game Declan Hannon had as well. Like, what control, what vision, what calmness he brings to the whole defence. Like, just another guy. No, he's only coming up to 30, I think. But for me, he's hurling better than ever.
Yeah. Well, we were lucky to be in the Woodlands Hotel last Thursday night on behalf of the Adair GA Club and the home of Declan Hannon. So it was belted out a couple of times on that evening. What a fantastic occasion it would be for the Hannons and their family and the Adair Club to have someone as special as Declan to lift Daly McCarthy on 4 occasions. And let's be honest, he's not finished yet either. Then you ally that with his career, Anthony, where I think it's 2013 they played G in the semi-final, the All-Ireland final. He was in the forwards taking the frees. He had a hard day at the office that day, and his career could have went one of two. Oh yeah, I know. Could have went one of two ways at that stage, and that shows you the character of the individual that you're dealing with here. That he put that into the background and he turned his whole career around. Became a centre back and a very phenomenal centre back as well at that time, or since then. I suppose early doors yesterday, I'd have to say there was a couple of challenges. I think he hit Adrian Mullen a decent belt of his shoulder, won the ball and flicked it back to I think to Diarmaid Burns, and there was a foul, there was a free, and the first goal I think came from it, and Nicky Quaid after Declan Hannon had won the initial ball. But his skill level was extremely high yesterday. He scored a great point off his left-hand side as well in the first half, raided up the field. And that is something that has probably come into his game in the last number of years. I would have said 4 or 5 years ago, he just plugged the centre-back position, hung around the D. But certainly the last couple of years, we found him get himself into space and taking on the ball. And he's a lovely pair of wrists, Anthony. God almighty, off his left-hand side, he can hit that ball on the run and keep the hurley tucked in close to his side, and his accuracy levels are fierce good as well. So as an individual then, I think every time that he's spoken after an All-Ireland final collecting the cup, and we're getting very used to seeing him now in the hotel with John Kiley as well being interviewed afterwards, he speaks so well as well. And I think that's a great tribute to the captain. And obviously, he's a very, very mature player. And I mentioned this in Adair on Thursday night. At some stage in people's life, the captaincy does sit easy with individuals. It doesn't for some people, and they can go back into their shells. But for me, the captaincy sits very easy with Declan Hannon. And I'm sure John Kiley, when he was picking him as captain, he knew exactly what he was dealing with. And Hannon has delivered, I think, on and off the field. And, you know, here we are, you know, lauding a person like Christy Ring, the only previous person to win 3 or captain 3 All-Irelands. And now Declan Hannon has done it on 4 occasions. It is an unbelievable situation. I think if we went back 25 or 30 years, would people have said there will be somebody coming that's going to win at least 4 All-Irelands as a captain? I think nobody would have believed it, but we are living in that moment right now. And hats off to Declan Hannon, his family, his club in Adair. They've produced one of the finest hurlers of all times. Yeah, and just Thursday night was one of the most enjoyable nights. I put down the crack we had. Donny was on fire, TJ, there's no doubt about it. He's putting you back in your box there as well a few times. Teachers having it handy. But the Fitzgerald family lads, just to say, like, you know, we did our
podcast as well, live from there, or not live, but we recorded from there the day of the Pro-Am, and last Thursday night, the crack and the reception they give you, they're just incredible people, and well done to them.
But Dale, isn't there a huge amount of goodwill in Limerick now? Even the night that we were in the Castle Troy Hotel, there was a great vibe down there. There was a fantastic vibe in the Woodlands as well. And TJ has mentioned it on a good few occasions. It's just everybody's getting a lift in the county of Limerick. I said earlier on, I was lucky enough to be in the box yesterday. Jim's sister Teresa and her husband were home from San Francisco. They've got in the game in between. They haven't been out of the country in 3 years. So just shows you what the GAA does for people. And on a side note yesterday, I mean, the world is just too small. I've no doubt about it, because I mentioned earlier on in the year that I was at the, you mentioned it actually, Dalo, in a couple of the reviews, that TJ was in Leopardstown one weekend. You'd been out the night before, you had the whole pile of notes done, and I was actually at the Welsh game. But I ended up, myself and Jackie got to the pub for 2 pints afterwards, and I couldn't get into the barman, and there was 3 fellas from the west of Ireland were holding up the bar, and I said, lads, is there any chances that you might do a cockful of favour and go in there and order a couple of pints, please? So anyway, they did on the occasion. But lo and behold, who appeared in the box yesterday but the 3 Musketeers from the west of Ireland as well? I mean, like, this world is just too small altogether, like, you know. So Shane and John and the other lad that was there yesterday, we'll definitely be meeting at the Galway races in a couple of weeks' time, because it's only over the road from the boys.
Hey, boy, Jesus, I tell you, 5 bands and a pig is over, and the All Ireland is over, and I'd be giving out all year now about it being over early. But I tell you, I'd be going to come on racing now very shortly, I'll tell you.
You'll be looking forward to a couple of nights out there.
Oh yeah, big time. Come here, for the first time this year, and it's always a great help to us, I have to say, is the Sunday game night show. People will be giving out social media and all, but first time I had very little time given to the lads, the 95, 97 lads over Saturday night. Went to bed early. It was a long day and on RT and all that, and not complaining. Geez, an honour to be on, and really enjoyed it with Joanne and Liam and Dunloe. And all the people that are not seen, they're just massive people. But I didn't see the Sunday game last night. We were in the Bell. There was a live band on. We could see it, and I didn't really get to see much of the content. Team of the year, lads, and like man of the match, obviously nearly picked itself with Hago. Team of the year, I'm not even sure. The boys were able to tell me 3 lads from Clare got on it, which I was a bit surprised with. Now they had a great Munster Championship, and I suppose came from the dead against Wexford, and then didn't really show up the last day. But Team of the year, will you fill me in there? Have you down in front of you there any, TJ? I know you were rushing from Dublin this morning, so Marco, you have the glasses on now and you're looking down, so I'm hoping you look the team of the year.
I'm looking down, but I think Joseph Cooney is on your team, Dalo. I don't think he was on the team of the year last night.
He did a great year now.
Yeah, Asher, come here, listen to me. He played really, but he's in at wing back, whereas he probably played most of his season, maybe midfield or half forward, but he was put in wing back. So I look, to be fair, I'm looking at your team of the year here, Anthony. I don't think he was on the team last. I can't remember the team, but most of them were the same. Was Conor Whelan on the team?
No.
Was he on the team of the year last night?
I call it out to you there.
Go on, come on.
It was Nicky Quaid in goal.
That was tight.
This is the team.
This
is not necessarily what I agree with, but this is the team.
That was tight now, though.
It was Sean Finn, Hugh Lawler, and Barry Nash, Jimmer Burns, Declan Hannon, and Pádraig Mannion, Adrian Mullen and David Fitzgerald, Garrod Hegarty, Kyle Hayes, Shane O'Donnell, and Aaron Gallan, TJ Reid, and Tony Kelly.
I had it written down there, but I couldn't find it.
Oh yeah. Thoughts. We congratulate everyone that's picked on that team. The All-Stars will probably be different. We know the journalists picked that. But it's always a fair barometer to the All-Stars. There's probably 2 or 3 changes every year. Your thoughts on that, TJ? You got 12 All-Stars last year and you weren't happy, like Donny. Tony was saying the other night that he thought the whole 15 like should have got it.
15, yeah. No, different and a much tighter championship. If you take Limerick's last couple of games, whether it is, let's say, the Ireland final, the semi-final against Galway, which was tight, and the games against Clare in the Munster Championship and the Munster final were very tight. So, yeah, there was a general feeling around the place that other teams have improved hugely. They're playing differently at different times against Limerick and successfully and making life difficult for Limerick. So I just think it was a great championship for Limerick to win, given what they did. But like 8 players is probably fair. I wouldn't be saying that we should maybe be getting any more. I do think the one I will stick out for is Nicky. I think Nicky, I know Owen Murphy is tight. I just think what he brings to the team, his puck out strategies, doing the basics so well, his leadership, calmness. Just for me, I think Nicky has to be in goals. I know Murph is good as well, but I thought that maybe if I'm nitpicking with Murph a couple of maybe earlier games in the season, maybe a couple of mistakes here and there, which is what Nicky brings to the team is phenomenal, and I think he has to be in. So the rest of them, I think, more or less speak for themselves. I would probably agree that Joseph Cooney should be in. I thought his year was good enough. I think unless he's unfairly done by the fact that he had to get moved back. Like he did a lot of wing forward, then he got moved back as Gordon McInerney got.
He was brilliant when he went back as well. Like
he was brilliant, yeah. That's what I'm saying. So I'm saying, if did he get lost as to where do you pick him? So I think that Joseph Cooney will be in the team. And in fairness, the other player that's been tremendous in the championship, Hoagie, is Hugh Lawler. Like he just has had a super season. He's an incredible fullback. Even at times there, yes, he lost his Hurley, and you can see the determination and. Yeah, he's had a great year. So hard to argue with a lot of them, and a lot of them are very straightforward. And to go back to the captain,
Tony Kelly, TJ, Tony Kelly in the corner instead of
Tony Kelly,
like maybe Conor Whelan, Shamie Flanagan.
Nah, Tony Kelly has to be in the team, Mark. I just think he's phenomenal. I know we're probably all drawn to, let's say, his last game, where let's say things maybe not have gone as well. But over the championship duration, Tony Kelly is one of the 6 best forwards in Ireland. He was this year for me, and he'd be in. But the point I'm going to touch on was Declan Hannon. Like, in terms of what he brings and that calmness going down the stretch. And I know that might has come now as a result of winning and success, and that makes it life easier. He's a very, very steady influence in the team. His use of the ball, especially late on, where he doesn't give it away, is so critical in the pressure cooker. And he's just been an incredible captain. And I think maybe Declan Hannon might be a small outside chance of being hurler of the year, given his effectiveness all year and what he's brought to the table. I just think he's had a tremendous year now.
Yeah, hurling better than ever, like as I said earlier. But hurler of the year, Hoagie.
But just before we come on to that, so it's just one person, and I'm completely and utterly biased in every aspect, but I just think a guy who is from the beginning of the year has shut down Shane Kingston through to Rory O'Connor to get man of match in a Leinster provincial final by shutting down Colin Mannion, to taking on potential hurler of the year and shutting him down, to then marking a guy yesterday who was taken off, in Mikey Butler. I couldn't believe he wasn't cornerback. And I'm a massive fan of Sean Finn. And with these teams, you're always going to lose out. And I think Sean Finn is the archetypal cornerback that every team wants and has been so consistent. And I think he's had a great year. But I think, for Mikey's taken on all comers, and in his first year, I think. But obviously, I'm biased in that, and I'd agree with the boys. Like, you make a strong case for Joseph Cooney there as well. I think he's had a great year, and probably a victim of the fact that he's had to fill in a couple of different positions potentially. Hurler of the year, well, I mean, purely on the final, Hegarty was a monster. You've mentioned Declan Hannon. I came across Declan. I suppose I would have seen him first playing for Irish Skull Reach against Kieran's in the college's final. And he was, he's superb. He came up short that year.
Forward.
Yeah. And then he was actually on an all-star tour with us. I say he must have been only about 19 or 20 down in San Fran. And you mentioned maturity. Even at that age, lovely lad, mature for his age, good crack. And then my last, I suppose, encounter would have been 2013 in that monsoon of an All-Ireland semi-final in Croke Park. He was centre forward that day, and fantastic hurler. Great. Like, anyone that can play centre back, centre forward, wing forward, and be the free to. He's just a constant, fantastic hurler. And like the role he plays now for Limerick, I mean, his ability to, like, he came out with some balls yesterday. He's just so quick. The hands are so quick. The ball is there and it's gone, and he's out, and aside from the fantastic point he got in the first half, he just does everything really simply, really, efficiently. He's a great hurler. I really enjoy watching him. So he'd definitely be in contention. But I suppose Jimmer Burns, for me, Jimmer Burns, I don't know what his final tally was this year, but Jesus, I think he's up there as one of your top scorers. As a wing back, I mean, he's, the point he got where he caught it over Owen Cody, I know he can hit frees, but the way he caught that ball over Owen, and Owen won't want to see that back again. Take a couple of strides out and bury it like an arrow back over the bar. That's an absolute sickener for an opposition to see that. It's, you pop the ball out, you have possession of it, and next thing it's coming back over your crossbar. I just thought Jeremy Burns all year has been, really
36, Hoagie. 36 points.
36.
27 frees, 365s, and 6 from play.
And I'll just caveat that, and then you mentioned to TJ about the fact, in Limerick, half backs will be measured by, these lads, and possibly Jeremy Burns. And outside of Limerick, other counties, if you're a free taker. But the important thing to say is he's a great defender as well. Sometimes you can fall into the trap of, wing backs and slotting points over the bar and aren't they great? But, he's a very effective defender as well. He does I suppose his main job first, but then he has that cannon in his arsenal, and he frees, Jesus, his accuracy from them and from general play. So yeah, for me, I think, and generally it's hard for an old back to get the hurler of the year, but that'll tell you how impressive he's been.
Yeah, TJ was giving out about backs there the other night in a dare. He was saying it was handy, anyone who play there kind of thing. And I suppose Burns could play a centre forward, I'd say, no bother. Marco, it's a bit frightening for the rest of us now. And I know that Pat Ryan is coming in and speculation that Liam Cahill will be going back. That's not confirmed, I presume, but Waterford job will be up for grabs, the Dublin job, etc. Cody will take his time, but sure, he'll be there. But is it a bit scary, that Keane Lynch will probably be in the full of his health next year? Peter Casey will probably be in the full of his health. Carl O'Neill will be a year older. Colin Coughlin. People kind of forget that they were beating a pint by Kilkenny in the 20 final. It could have gone either way. Bit of Hawkeye stuff as well with the point that Clarky's young fella took down to each other. But it's a bit scary back for everyone else. The average age is 26, I think.
Yeah. I suppose what it does, Anthony, it's a bit like Brian's former team when they came along. Nobody thought they'd ever be beaten or could be beaten. And it's like everything, you manage the resources you have at that period of time. And Limerick are doing a fantastic job. They've set new standards, I would say. And all teams that come along, there is a standard, no different to your own team. Anthony, 95, when you came along, he set new standards at that time in terms of physical training, and other counties had to follow. It took a few years for them to follow. But I think Brian Hogan's team that came along, the great four in a row team, they set new standards. And I think Limerick have set fantastic standards right now. So there's no weaknesses in their arsenal, and it is down to all the other counties, Anthony, to come up to their standard. Now, I think you've made great strides, Anthony, this year in Clare. You've gone from maybe 5th or 6th at the start of the year to being in the top 2 at one stage with us. So certainly you have a huge amount of raw material to work with. There's none of your players are going to be retiring. Brian Lohan has started a new 3-year stint, so I think you're well underway. Waterford, to me, won the league. They were obviously our fancies to be the second team in the country for a long stage until things got a little bit sour. I think the managerial appointment there is a critical one for them right now. They have a brilliant panel of players, I would suspect, and they have the capability because they have a couple of really, really good individuals. So their managerial appointment is very, very important. On the Cork side, I think from our point of view, we need to build on the minor under 220 All-Irelands that we've won. Pat Ryan was in charge of those 2 teams. So I think we have a nice panel of players as well. And obviously when you look at Kilkenny and the way they performed in the All-Ireland final this year. So that gives 4 teams, I would think, at the moment. And Wexford obviously had a good year as well. But those 4 teams have plenty of resolve in them, I think, and plenty upside to come. So Limerick are brilliant. They are brilliant. But and they have players coming back from injury, as you said, and Colin Coughlin and Colin O'Neill a year older, but they now have a target in their back, like Kilkenny had a couple of years ago. So it's up to all the other counties to raise their standards, Anthony, to try and bring them down and stop the 4 in a row.
Yeah, and I keep saying it, the round robin in Munster is such a minefield. Like you could just lose the first one, maybe below Walsh Park, and then you're on the back foot, and that's the fascinating thing. I think there's no day there that you can take your eye off the ball.
No, but I think one of the lads, sorry, I heard one of the Limerick team this morning making a comment, that they had beaten the 4 teams in Munster this year, and then they had taken on the Leinster finalists in Galway and Kilkenny and beaten them. So, they are fantastic champions, Anthony, and you're right, the round robin in Cork, the round robin in Munster, it is a minefield, there's no doubt, and depending on who plays who, we need a couple of games, I suppose, where maybe in the first round, some of the favourites are beaten. And then you really have, the 5 teams battling it out. And anything could happen in Munster. We know that.
Yeah. Look at it. The championship overall, Hoagie, what did you... I know we finished early and we're always debating this. Mark is happy enough and I'd be pining for another few weeks. And there's no... Look at... I can't, my club are playing next Saturday night. I can't wait, just to, get back to that. And, but at the same time, we got just music in there for a small while because you've got to start on about the Cork Championship. Jesus Christ. This Monday morning, I think. You know what I mean? We're all in recovery mode here, and the Clare lads are on about a bit of a bank holiday Mondays type setting when we get back down, the hardcore teacher. But, overall, there won't be much talk about hurling now, lads, for a good while, won't it? Because until it comes down to the county semi-finals, finals, there won't be that much talk. Overall, when we'll have to see now what way the club goes, Buggy, and then assess it all and wonder, is this better or worse for us?
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, I don't want to go against the ins and outs. I know Landers mentioned it last week about lads travelling and all. We can come on to that in another show. But in terms of the championship itself, I'd be very much in the camp. I feel it's finishing too early. I do feel from a promotional point of view of the games, it's like we were still talking about the Dublin-Kerry semi-final midweek. I feel the final was almost upon us before we knew it, and it's over now. And we're missing an opportunity there. So getting that balance, and and from a club point of view, you're only talking about 2 clubs now, or 2 counties, now, and realistically, from the semi-final 4, there's nothing stopping. And how often have we seen it? We were in finals, in September, and then you come up to playing in club championships, and you're still waiting on, club finalists from X or Y county who are knocked out in midsummer. Yeah. So but that aside, in terms of the championship itself, to be honest, my head is still looking at the final yesterday and trying to get my head around it, but my sense overall is we've had some really good matches. The semi-final, obviously, Galway and Limerick was a great match. The Munster final was a fantastic match. The Leinster final was a little bit of an anticlimax in terms of I thought Galway would have brought something a bit more. I think they just fell flat. And from a Kilkenny perspective, Clare match, we were outstanding, but again, Clare will be disappointed with what they brought that day, and I think John Conlon obviously been a huge loss in that. But again, you have worthy champions in Limerick. Yes, but you had the champions that a lot of people were predicting, but what we all wanted was to see teams put them to the pin of the collar, and we had got that. We got that in the Munster final. We got that in the biggest game of all in the All Ireland. The sign of great champions. They responded to both tests, and even the Galway match. 3 games in a row and ground out the results. I think overall it was a great championship. It had an awful lot in it. But again, we're now mid-July. We're the 18th of July, and we're done. And the sun is shining out here. And I know we go back to the clubs, but I just think and you look at the attendances. I don't know what it was like in Limerick, but there's a lot of tickets sent back and floating around there, and the Thursday and Friday. Now it probably ended up I don't know what the final number was, but a lot of people on holidays, and it's a different time of year. So when you see kind of these kind of matches, and even last weekend the football where they're not sold out, maybe that'll get Croke Park sitting up and having to think about it more than what we were saying. But that's something to consider as well. But overall championship, I thought it was a really, really enjoyable championship from a Kilkenny perspective. Seeing the arc of the development of the lads over the last number of weeks and months, has been positive. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, Dalo, definitely last night the vibe from the president, Larry McCarthy, was that July was here to stay. He kind of made a note of that. The other thing that was interesting
Larry's only
last night
passing
was,
through now. No disrespect to you, Larry.
I understand.
There's
I understand.
Larry involved here.
But he'd be representing the GAA's view. The other thing I suppose that is to take into account here is let's say the elite intercounty player, right? The vibe I got from the lads last night was that the quick championship, let's say, condensed a fair bit, was that they were in favour, because they said, like, why would you be waiting around? Like, why wait 3 weeks, 4 weeks for a semi-final? Why wait 3 weeks, 4 weeks for a final? If you're in it, why not just get it on? And the other thing too to remember here, right, is forget about us, right? Is that all these players now, right, like, and just the two teams yesterday, they will have their week, right? They'll have their piece where they have to fix. Kilkenny they'll have a few days together as well. They got to go back to a club, like. And they have club managers now chomping at the bit. They'll want, let's say, 2 weeks off. They'll want the bodies to be getting right. And as I said, is it fair to be dragging the season out for all these players longer just because of a bit of promotion? It's a tricky one. I was probably the same.
But the players are going to, say we normally predict the top three in Limerick or 3 or 4. They're going to be going right down to the wire again. When is the county final going to be played? September. They're going to have no break, really.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, is drawing it out then and having them guys doing more training, let's say waiting 3 weeks or 4 weeks for a possible semi-final or a final.
I know what you're saying, yeah.
I don't know. I look, we've trashed this out before. I don't know what the solution is, but I just thought, just last night, just talking to some of the players, the general vibe was that they were happy enough with the championship. Like, it is a quick turnaround, like injuries, the management of it, and maybe that's one of Limerick's real key successes over some of the other teams. Maybe Kilkenny did it very well as well. When Leinster finally had 4 weeks, was the management of those blocks and got it right. And I think Limerick might have been, like, they lost Keane, but they might have been fortunate in 1 or 2 other cases as well, the lads were saying, because there was a couple of others. You probably noticed Gillan's knee was nicely strapped yesterday in the game. I think Kyle was also carrying some bit of strapping as well, and a bit of an injury. So, like, they're just, I don't know, part and parcel of a championship that's so condensed. But bigger picture, I don't know what the solution is, right? But the vibe I got last night from the president and the players was that they were happy enough.
Yeah, I don't have a major problem, and people might think I have. I don't. I just think in the overall scheme of things, the Premier League stats and all that, from a hurling point of view, yes, the club is all consuming for us, and we are very proud of our clubs and all that. But just, we won't go into the game now, Mark. I know you're mad to let it rip.
No.
We won't.
I have the club championship down there as one of the things, as a highlight of the year. And the only highlight is that we're moving away from the intercounty, and the club player is going to get a lot of recognition over the next 4 or 5 months, because live streaming is going to be part of, I think, a lot of counties now. And I see the Examiner there launched the live streaming this morning in Cork. €8 if you want to look at one game, or why wouldn't you just pay €50 and you get the whole lot all of the time? So that is a fantastic opportunity. Yeah. I think if I'm reading it right, I think they're saying here, just give me 1 second, Anthony. I have to put on the glasses there. There will be an €8 per view charge per game this season for followers seeking one-time access, or you may prefer our sizzling summer subscription offer for the Irish Examiner entire suite of content, including the daily e-paper, GA live streams, podcasts, and acclaimed sports writing for a stunning €5 a month, or €50 for 12 months. Now, that's what you call giving value for the punter. And just to take on that step, I thought yesterday charging €90 for one match was a bit Irish, I'd have to say. I want to see 2 matches in Croke Park if I'm going to be paying €90. So we have to bring back some curtain raiser for me. Hawkeye needs to be bedded in correctly. We don't need to see no data available or Hawkeye being stood down. That needs to be a constant, and it needs to be rolled out into the other stadiums, Páirc Uí Chaoimh, Thurles, a couple of the football grounds up around the west of Ireland and the north of Ireland, wherever they are. We certainly won't be going there, Dalo. And support for the referees is the last thing I'm going to finish off on, is that Colm Lyons had a fantastic game yesterday. I'm delighted for him. And John Keenan, you 100% support out there amongst the 99% of people who listen to this show and are genuine GA people. You had a magnificent Munster final. Disappointed that the GA didn't see it in their arsenal to give him any function or role since the Munster final. Not good enough, gents.
Yeah, well said. And yeah, John, I feel a bit for him. I thought he contributed to one of the great Munster finals. And well done to Colm yesterday, because tough day to referee now, the heat. Like, I mean, they're not as fit as the players, so they couldn't be. And he did some job. And he was consistent. That's what I thought, you know.
Yes,
all made mistakes.
he was.
The players made mistakes. Brian Cody made mistakes. John Kiley made mistakes. Colm made a couple of mistakes. He was consistent. He was fair. And I think we all liked the way he played. Lads, great day again. Great chat. Fantasy. We have a new champion, I believe. He can win in everything, like, you know. Great score. I was sitting beside Liam Sheedy for the match. He knew he was going well. And he jumped up there. Just very disappointed that I finished in sixth with a big arrow pointing down. I stayed ahead of you, Huggy. And Sean,
you moved over, Dalo. You moved over to the section for the 3.4 million mention in the Blackrock Road with Johnny McGrath. That's not good now, kid.
I'm going to ring in Patrick Mulcahy there to see what he set me up for next year, and I'm going to take it easy for the league like Limerick did this year. And well done, TJ. Great score.
Well done, TJ.
Family effort. Well done.
Family effort. I suppose my main man would have been Cormac, my son. He was very constructive all the year. He had all his scores and his data right. So I have to give him a lot of credit here on this one. But yeah, nice to win it. Nice to beat all you guys in for once. And I kind of have felt a bit like John and Paul, that I timed my run to perfection. I was just improving towards the end of the league. Got it right for championship. TK, we'll have to have a beer. As captain, you left me down maybe on one day, but in fairness, overall through the year, you carried me. Fantastic scores. To go back to one point, Dalo, right, and fair play to Butlers as well. They sponsored the prizes for the fantasy, and we look at the overall as well. I was very close in that. But I just wanted to say that I'm in the Aaron Gillan camp for Hurler of the year. I think he's been fantastic all year. He's top scorer from play with 321. I'm in that camp.
Okay, well said. Our listeners, Jack, our listeners, unbelievable. And Patrick's fecking well, are winning everything. There's a dispute of which of them will get Hurler of the year. Well done to Alan Murray. Murray's Mints, 2-2-6-9. What a score. Like TJ, 2-2-2-5. Kieran Kenrick, second. Michael Murphy from Dunley, and Thomas Lally, and TJ, well done. Just incredible scoring.
TJ.
He's Brian Murray's brother, is he?
It's Brian Murray's brother, yeah. Brian Murray's brother. So, yeah, from Partick's Well. So, a great weekend from Partick's Well. But what a score in the finish, yeah. Just a small bit disappointed. It would have been unbelievable if I could have won that one as well. But look, the top 5 finish, I'd be happy enough with that.
Yeah, and
fair play.
Couple have to give a shout out. Owen Marron in 7th. You made a show of me, Cade. Fair play to you in this time. And my adopted club of Shannon Gales, where we live now, Gerard Grogan, always comes up by 11th. Brilliant stuff, lads. And
I said it before, Dalo, that the guy in 4th, Tomas Lally, is a brother of Kilkenny, Galway selector Kevin Lally. So yeah, he's up in the north at the moment. So fantastic score as well for Tomas. I met him there in Galway.
And there's a clear man there, Brendan Noonan, part of the Come On Racing Club there, Dalo. I see him there in 19th position.
Yeah,
I think he's been in the front page all year. Yeah.
Yeah, they were knocking around the hotel, the Mills boys. Fingers kind of brings the support act wherever he goes, you know. So Well, I mean, like, great at fingers. He had a hip operation 3 weeks ago, but the man was moving well again over the weekend. He's some operator. Any fogres there, lads? Any entries, the horses there, Mac, or anything?
No entries at the moment. Jim Balger has reported that both Literatus and Purple Gown need a bit of cut in the ground. So he just said to me regarding Galway, he'll have to wait a little bit closer to the time to see whether the ground will come up with a bit of dig in it. We'll need a little bit, I would suggest, I'd say, if either of them are to run. Just to say congratulations to Ray Ratchford, who yet again has pulled off his 26th golf classic, Killer Golf Classic, and he has done a fantastic job. I think 160 or 170 teams as well have played over the weekend. So Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Well done to Ray. And I know there's another fogger. I'll come back to there in a second when I find it.
TJ?
Yeah, I have a couple. Huggy will save you to last. Dalo, first of all, I met a lot of podcast listeners there throughout the year over the weekend, all complimenting you and the team you pick and the show you run. So you seem to be doing an awful lot right. They're very happy. So a shout out to all of them. And they were from all parts of the world. People home from New York, from Limerick, which listen in on a regular basis. Guy from San Francisco last night telling me that he tunes in every week and he likes the Fogre at the end to kind of hear what's going on. So important. Second thing is to RTE for inviting me up for the match on Saturday night. Great night. And Hugh in the Boar's Head looked after us. His hospitality, again, unbelievable. Yeah, Hugh was class. And also, one last one. Davy Russell, my buddy, the champion jockey and Grand National Gold Cup winner, Superman, was very good to us over the weekend because he arrived on for the crack. He picked us up on RTE, brought us to town. Davy doesn't drink. Looked after us, hung out with us when taxis were scarce. Not sure what time in the morning it was. Davy, in fairness, brought us home. We met him for breakfast. He brought me to the match. Couldn't have been better. He loved the crack. And you know what, Marco? Davy's looking forward to trying getting the Rebels back to Crow Park. He's kind of getting anxious for us to be on. Yeah, and I think Dalo, he said he's a Nicky Quaid fan as well. Davy is, and he kind of told me was that if Nicky didn't get the All-Star in 2022, that he was prepared to lead the match.
Well, sure, that Hurling for Cancer is not too far away either, is it? I presume.
Correct. 16th of August.
Yeah.
Does he need a couple of selectors, TJ?
Yeah, he needs
Landers. If I can get 5 minutes on you.
Yeah, and in fairness,
I hate to tell you, Dalo, we're on the Munster team now, like against the Leinster team in the Hurling for Cancer. So you won't get 5 minutes from me, but any day you want 5 minutes, I'll be prepared to talk for you, Dalo. No problem.
I managed Dublin for 6 years. I nearly qualified for Leinster just to get on you there for a few minutes.
And Mark, James Dowling, I think, is a selector with Jim Bulger, and he kind of does a bit of recruitment to the players because James's contacts. So I think James had recruited Paul Murphy and Jackie Turrell, right? But did two lads were in our company with Davy on Saturday night. So watch the space. I think he's got them to do the U-turn. I think I think he pulled a master stroke on Saturday night.
Ogie, are you talking to Russell?
No, I haven't got the call yet, Dalo. To be honest, the stage I'm in, I'm not sure what use I'd be, but anyway, the phone is on. But I have a Fogre. I don't know, as TJ finished, he usually has a long list there of Fogres. He's done. I just have a quick one there to IRL, the boys in IRL Construction out there in Vancouver. The brothers out there for the summer, and he said the boys are big fans of the podcast. Listen to it all the time, and Donlan's pub there, they're all in there watching the matches over the last few weeks. Good Galway man, Will Donlan out there, but just give the boys a shout out. They're probably painting or sanding or doing something, or
they're only getting up. So they're only getting up.
Yeah, they're probably getting up, exactly.
TJ, have your table booked in Nancy Blake's? Oh, that's gone now. You can just do it late now, isn't it?
I have a couple of text messages now, to be honest about it. I've had a tough enough weekend there now, and I'm going away for a few days there kind of towards the middle of the week, so I think I need to straighten myself out and do some bit of a detox and relax. But just one shout out to the Monaghan under 12s who were in Kilmacud actually at the 7s over the weekend doing 12s, and they had a great time. That's the cup final. Great underage work going on there as usual. But no, brilliant. Just to say, as a Limerick man, I think that these boys have just maybe brought us to a place that we thought we'd never go. So now we're sitting proudly on top. We will certainly enjoy this one before any talk of next year or fours or anything comes into play. It's very important for all Limerick people to live in the moment. To just enjoy the crest of the wave we're on. They're a phenomenal team, and long may it last. I hope you to listen to us for many years to come.
Yeah, we're just about getting sick of it now, so go on away.
Is there a mute button?
Sorry, Dalo, there's just two more. Kilmichael GA have a golf classic coming up on the 26th of August, so check out the Kilmichael GA social media. And I was lucky enough to bump into the great Henry Shefflin yesterday, and I had a small little bit of a chat with him. Congratulated him on the year, commiserated about his brother, and he just said to me, Mark, I really enjoy listening to the podcast. He said, your analysis is outstanding, he said, and it shortens the road from Galway to Kilkenny. So I didn't ask him what his plans are for next year, but I presume he will be listening to the podcast anyway, Dalo.
Yeah, well, fair play, Chef, and we've done a fair job of buttering our own fucking bread today. Anyway, we're mighty minicut ourselves, but anyway, great year, lads, and I no doubt we'll be back when the club stuff gets into the heat of it, and we all look forward now to the club championships. And thanks to two of ye, I suppose, especially, and Hogan, you've been on quite a bit with us because your analysis is always top class, and thanks to all our guests. We've had great guests, everyone from Shane McGrath, Ken Hogan, Tom Dempsey this year, Liam Sheedy, Cyril. What a performance in a day, and he done his steps for about 3 weeks that day with walking the course.
Derek McGrath.
Derek, we're leaving out anyone?
The Brick.
The Brick Flick.
The Brick Flick.
Top class, the Brick Flick. A man that a skill named after him. So lads, Tom Dempsey as well. Larry, I know you're putting up the names there. We'll have them all done at this stage. But lads, thanks. As TJ, you said it, our live listeners, we just never thought that this thing would go where it has gone. It's incredible, and the feedback has been great. We don't get it right the whole time, and we've all different opinions, but thanks again today, lads. Well done to Limerick. Enjoy it while it lasts, as he just said. He champions. The 3 in a row Yorks printed like fucking one thing. We got you next year.
I know we have the mute button for Landers that we get good use out of, but I'm just thinking for next year you may want to consider the rest of the one for TJ if this is going to continue.
Hoagie, you're breaking up there, TJ. Next year, you're breaking up. So lads, thanks for bearing with me today. Thanks for the old hotel here in Castleknock for sorting me out eventually, and the loan of the laptop of one of the lads here. So
and thanks
over
to
now.
You pick good teams. In fairness, Dalo. They're good. I'm telling you.
I never quite got the John Kiley thing or the Daly Fitz thing or the Cody thing, but you look, as we had a go, I think this is more comfortable here talking about it and critiquing the whole thing afterwards and beforehand. And anyway, thanks, lads.
Thanks, Dalo. Thanks to you, bye.
Thanks to Larry. Thanks to Rafe. Thanks to Jack as well in the background there. Unbelievable work and listening to us. And TJ, enjoy the holidays. You deserve it. And over and out, lads.
Pleasure, lads.
Thanks to our sponsors, Renault. The Renault Capture, the versatile, compact family SUV.
You're still the one I run to, the one that I belong to. You're still the one I want for
A grain of rice, a grain of rice is going to tip the scale. Just remember that, lad.
There's a small bit of a needle there.
Now, come on, Mayo, you've got to get Andy Moran into the game.
Our mission was to show that we're no longer the whipping boys of Munster.